Goresh. You are listening to the Let's Go Devils podcast on the Primetime Radio Network.
Happy Devils Tuesday. This is Devils After Dark, coming to you live from the Primetime Radio studios inside the bunker in an undisclosed location, beautiful New Jersey. And just down the turnpike, it is Scotty in Scotty's basement, or Scotty's dad's basement, somewhere down the turnpike. Streaming live on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, X Live, and Twitch on the Let's Go Devils Network, as the Devils have been eliminated from the playoffs tonight, losing 5-4 in double overtime to the Carolina Hurricanes. I got a lot of beef, Scotty. A lot of beef about this game.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Season now officially wrapped up, and there's a lot of things that we can talk about here. Although, Sam Woo, I'm not turnpike away from you. I'm like 78, down 78 from you.
Oh, I wasn't trying to give your exact location, Scotty. You don't want fans coming to your parents' house. Jeez. Well,
I'm leaving soon, so it'll be okay.
Oh, so it'll be their problem?
It'll be man. So, where do we begin? Let's talk about this game over here. Number 5 of the series here, back down in Carolina for the Devils. And, it started out really good. The team looked pumped. They looked ready to play. They looked like they were going to push this to a Game 6 and send it back to New Jersey. But a very tough second period. Oh, I see we got the parental advisory.
Just in case.
Explicit content here. Okay. All right.
Yeah, so if you're listening in the car with your kids or whatever, you may want to turn it off. No guarantees, but yeah, I have to put it up there because I'm mad.
You have to do the earmuffs? Earmuffs?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. But yeah, man, they started out pretty damn good, and then a second period which saw the Devils, unable to weather the storm, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And some shaky goals by Jacob Markstrom in the second, though he did rebound, and just an all-around atrocious game for the officials yet again, and for our power play. The power play has been a power outage this entire series, and it is something that we have relied on with this team through the entire season. And it just disappeared against these Carolina Hurricanes. But we did start out on the rather good side here in the first period. Early on, who got the first goal over here? Was it Dawson Mercer, I believe? Yes, it was. Dawson Mercer with a lot of traffic in front, and you can see that the Devils were winning those puck battles along the boards. They were being aggressive. They were getting in on that forecheck, and they outshot the Canes, by the way, in the first period. But Brett, what am I clown? What am I funny to you? Pesci takes a long-range shot, and it deflects in off of Mercer. But this was after some good, serious pressure and puck possession in the O-zone, which we know has been lacking somewhat in this series so far for the Devils. But they start out good at 3:46 into the first period. Devils on the board, 1-0 from Dawson Mercer. And then it's not too long after that, at 5:31, our man Timo Meier makes it 2-0. And that one was another good feed from Brett Pesci right across. And then Timo just rips it past the glove of Kochetkov. And then you get Stefan Nason, the former Carolina Hurricane, making it 3-0. 10 minutes into the game. This is at 9:55. And he got a feed. This one actually was Nason just after the power play expires. he tips a Nemitz shot, which, yes, came from Dougie Hamilton, and we were that damn close to getting our first ever playoff football call from the king of the football calls himself, Sam by God Woo. But, we don't do the playoff calls and the losses. But Dougie and Nemitz got the assist on Nason's first of the playoffs at 9:55. 3-0 Devils in the first 10 minutes of the period. And I know what I was thinking, and I know you were probably thinking the same thing too. Coming home from game 6. So you're telling me there's a chance. Every Devils fan was feeling really damn good after that first period. But it did not last, because when the second came out, when the second period started, the Canes came out and they were just all over. It was like a Devils collapse in the first 6 minutes of the second period. The Canes score 3 times. 3 times. Just after the Devils killed off a penalty, Taylor Hall kind of just pokes in the Stankonen, Stankonen? Am I saying that right? Stankonen shot, which Markey kind of got his 5-hole opened up there, and the puck kind of ping-ponged in between his legs, and it kind of it squeezes through, and it's literally just sitting there on the red line, and there's no Devils defense around to swipe the puck away, and Taylor Hall pushes it in for his first of the playoffs. Okay, that's at 1:46. Then Jackson Blake at 4:01, and this one, this was not a good one over here. So basically, there was 2 Devils defenders on one guy on the other side of the ice. Jackson Blake comes around. You then get, I believe it was Halla and Bratt trying to get to him, and he makes like he's going to kind of like, come to the center slot, and Markey comes off of the post. And Blake doesn't get there, and he just kind of throws it back towards the post, and it goes under the blocker and over the leg of Jacob Markstrom. If he would have just hugged the post there a little bit longer, that goal would have never gone in. But we're not done yet, because Svechnikov, who has been absolutely destroying the Devils in this playoff series, gets his 5th goal of the playoffs, and this is a long-range shot at 5:40. 5:40. So the Devils get 3 goals in 10 minutes. The Canes say, oh, hold my Aunt Crew brew. We're going to get 3 goals in 6 minutes to start the second period. So, man, those first, the long-range one, you can say that there was, traffic in front and everything like that, but that 5-hole goal, and I get it. It's right when the power play expires. You get some tired guys on the ice there for the Devils. But, just want to see Markey just kind of like, close up that 5-hole. And then the one where he came off the post is just, oof. That was a bit of a backbreaker right there. So, okay, now it's all tied up. Then the captain says, hang on, guys. I got you. Like he's been doing the entire season. Nico Hischier gets his 4th of the playoffs, coming from Paul Cotter and Stefan Nason. Nason with a 2-point game tonight. And this was a nice backhand pass from Paul Cotter, to the captain, who buries it there, Paskochekov, but then the Devils get a 5-on-3 penalty kill. He gets a tar in the box, and then I believe it was Halla as well that goes in after there, both for tripping penalties. And again, the officiate, I'm going to leave that to Sam Woo. The officiating was not good. There was a lot of missed calls on the Devil side, and there were a few questionable calls gone against them, for the Canes.
Scotty, I actually posted this on X. The referees took over at the end of the first period. Bottom line, they literally took over the game.
And that's something that that penalty that expired was a carryover to start the period. So the Canes started the period on the power play. I forgot to mention that there. But 5-on-3, Sebastian Aho scores. It was a nice pass. Listen, I'm not gonna lie, it was a nice pass from Jarvis. Markey's got to take Jarvis, that shot, because Jarvis is, he's a scorer. But he does a nice seam pass to the back door. Sebastian Aho just wide open on the side, slams it home. Markey can't get across in time. It's a 5-on-3. Jeez, 4-4 right there. Luckily, they do, because right after that, then they still had a minute 10, 5-on-4, but they were able to kill that off. Now, the good news for Devils fans is after that, Jacob Markstrom really rebounded, and he stood on his head for the entire game. The rest of the game, I should say. The third period and OT was the Jacob Markstrom show. I mean, he just looked like he had that, like, nothing else is going to get by, boys. I know a couple of those were on me. I'm going to make amends right now. And he did. You got to say, he gave the Devils every single chance, because the Canes were just surging the entire time. And it was basically an onslaught through the third, especially the OT. The first OT was just, man, the Canes were all over him. The refs missed a high stick on Palat, so he gets sticked in the face, and then they call a trip on Mercer. And there was a bit of a dive on that one by Svechnikov as well. Not called. But Markstrom did make two massive saves right from the slot on that power play. Overtime, like we said, with the first OT, I think the biggest highlight was Siegenthaler with that monster check standing up. I believe it was Seth Jarvis, right? Yeah, it was Seth Jarvis coming at the blue line. That was like the biggest highlight for the Devils in the OT, because the first OT, let me see, what were they actually outshot here? 14-3. 14-3. They were outshot in the overtime. And let me tell you, two of those three came in the last 30 seconds of the overtime period for the Devils. It was a full-on just ass whipping going on. But Jacob Markstrom kept this team in it for as long as he could. He withstood everything. He made a number of saves. I think was it Jarvis or was it Aho, where he made the leg save and then he dove across. I think it was Aho to get it with the glove as well. I mean, Markstrom was ridiculous in the third period and the overtime. By the way, third period, the Canes outshot the Devils 15-8. Okay? So they had, 29 shots, and they had 5 in the second overtime. So from the third period, overtime, and the second OT, the Canes had 34 shots on goal. 34, 53 for the night. And we all know eventually in the second OT, Aho gets the game winner there after a double minor on Mercer. High sticking, which sure looked like a follow through of a shot. I don't know. Everywhere else, that's not a penalty, but tonight against New Jersey, it is. The follow through is not. Once again, can we please check on the NHL officiating vision plan? What are they giving these guys? Because I think they need an upgrade. But, congratulations to the Canes. They took it to the Devils here, but don't forget, Devils down 3 defensemen, in this series. We lost Luke Hughes, Brendan Dillon, and Kovacevic. We're down our superstar, all-star, offensive threat, Jack Hughes. But I will say, very pleased with the play of one Shimon Nemitz tonight and in this series. He really stepped it up big time. Dumoulin, he played nearly 37, 38 minutes. Yep. Siegenthaler coming back early, just playing, lights out. The Devils were shorthanded. The Canes were able to take it to them. The Canes were able to open up the center slot, which is something the Devils have always taken away throughout the season from all the other teams, and they just didn't seem to have that answer to counter the Canes attack. So I really, man, after that first period, I thought they were going to do it. I thought they were going to bring it to a game 6 and bring it back home. And like I said, then it's the Dumb and Dumber. So you're telling me there's a chance because you win one and then you could go to a game 7. But the Canes get it done in double overtime, beating the Devils, ending their season 5-4. Shots on goal for the Devils, 13-10, 8-3, 1 in the second overtime for we're not going to do the whole deal, but it is a Reigning Pucks Slayer tribute of 35. But the Canes, 9, 10, 15, 14, 5 for a total of 53 shots. Just getting peppered in goal was Jacob Markstrom tonight by the Canes. They wanted it. They went out there and they got it. Canes won the face-off battle again, which we don't see very often, but that's been the story here. The Canes have been beating the Devils at their own game. 42 wins to 38. The Canes 2 for 6 on the power play. Devils, once again, the Jersey everything bagel with cream cheese, a big 0 for 3. The Canes out hit us again, 46 to 39. The Devils did have 25 blocked shots, which is really nice, and only 11 giveaways, but still can't get it done. Lot to unpack here. The refs suck. That second period was not good, and the Devils once again blew a lead, a 3-goal lead. They blew in a win-or-go-home game in the playoffs. So there's a lot of things here that we can talk about. I know Sam is raring to go about some of this stuff, but also I think we really got to look at some of these guys that just did not perform. The Palats, the Hollas, the entire fourth line. I mean, I will say Dowling was a nice, surprise, but Bastian, Tatar, they just weren't there. They didn't show up. So let's get to what you think about it on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram. Hello to everyone. How you doing? Late night over here in a true Devils After Dark fashion. Sam Woo is up, though. Even though he's got to get up early tomorrow morning, he is up right now and ready to go. So let's turn it over to the king of the football calls and see what Sam Woo has to say.
I don't even know where to begin, Scotty, because this whole series has been a roller coaster of emotions for the fans. As a Devils fan, I'm look, let's be realistic here. The Devils, they had every obstacle thrown at them with the injuries. And again, we're not making excuses here. They fought hard. They worked their asses off. Where I get pissed is having the game end like this. With, again, if you're not going to call anything in overtime, what do you do on a follow-through? What do you do on a follow-through? Dawson Mercer. Now, I'm not going to say that the Devils would have won this series, would have won this game, but as a fan, I now question, again, the integrity of the league and the integrity of the officiating. In the sports betting world right now, I'm pissed because it was so obvious when the Devils were up 3-0 towards the end of the first period, the refs kind of took over. Some of the penalties were legit, but you got to call it consistent. And that's where I have a problem with it. They let things go, and then they don't let things go. It's like at the referee's discretion. Again, would it have changed the outcome of the game? Who knows? Nobody knows. But what I do know is it felt like Game 6 against the Kings when Bernier hit, I believe it was Scuderi, behind the net. If you remember, which caused a catastrophe of penalties. But really, the referees missed the icing call on that play, if you look at the replay. And it felt like that where if the Devils if you were going to take the Devils behind the barn and put it down, do it right. Do it right. And that's where I have a problem with it, because you robbed Markstrom. I mean, there was nothing he could have done there. A double minor, having the Carolina Hurricanes have a 4-minute power play. But it was just not fair to Markstrom. It's not fair to the Devils fans, on that. And I'm pissed. And I'm really pissed. And I'm not. And if the Canes go out and I'm going to watch their series, I don't even recognize that they won the series, because I'm so pissed off how it ended. You know what I mean? And I'll read the rule. I'll read the rules. This is AI, the AI's version of it, their interpretation. In the NHL Rule 60.1, a high stick is defined as a stick carried above the height of an opponent's shoulders. A player committing a high stick violation receives a penalty. We all know this. This rule also emphasizes that players must be in control of their sticks and are responsible for their actions. They teach you this in Pee Wee hockey. I agree with that. While accidental contact is permitted, which happened here, Scotty, and what makes it total bullshit, it had double overtime in Game 5 in the NHL playoffs. You freaking call it? That's what pisses me off. And I believe they did that in Toronto in that series. So, and it's like, and the refs took 2-3 seconds? It was probably, hey, this is Gary Bettman. It's a penalty. That's what probably happened. Didn't even go to Toronto. It was so. Robert Isaacson, they said he bled. Yeah, but he was also acting too, kind of like Natchez. It also brought me back to that scenario, back in December. I mean, can you make an argument that he threw his face in front of Mercer's stick? He was down so low, and he's a tall guy. His face hit his stick. That's what I say. That's my interpretation. I'm kidding around. But
well, I will say this one thing about the refs that really annoyed me tonight was I believe it was the second period, the Devils had a delayed penalty, and as Markstrom is skating off the ice,
and they
stopped play, and we're going to call too many men on the ice against the Devils. That really pissed me off. That really pissed me off. And you can never say, they were going to, because the puck was in the neutral zone or anything, but it's just the crappiness of that officiating really got under my skin. But the shitty officiating aside, it's the injuries and the fact that this special teams went ice cold. We saw this happen to the team as well in the second half of the season, when their power play was just non-existent, and it happened again. Carolina they were able to adjust to the Devils game and shut them down. They seemed, they seem to have our number in the playoffs. It's been a number of series now where Carolina has taken it from us. And this has got to be a thing though for this team, because if they want to advance, Carolina's not going anywhere. They're going to have to get through them at some point.
I also want to give credit where credit's due. Obviously, Carolina's well coached.
Definitely.
The owner
100%.
The owner is a little weird in Carolina. He's cheap in a lot of areas, but he puts money in certain areas, which probably makes him a genius, because the Carolina Hurricanes
They hired NFL refs for this game. That was good. Is that Snai?
But, I'll be honest. If the Devils are going to look, let's focus on the positives here, okay? They fought like hell. They didn't quit, okay? Some of them maybe played poorly, but they didn't quit. But you saw what Carolina did as a team collectively. First off, they've been in the playoffs pretty much every year for a
Perennial.
while now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Rod Brindamore brought stability from the head coaching position. Sheldon Keefe, this is the first year in New Jersey, right? There's going to be changes that are made. Carolina.
And Sam, by the way, just want to say this: 2002, 2006, 2009, 2023, and 2025. Thank you, Robert Isaacson. Those are Carolina playoff victories over the Devils. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. All because of one series, which was the 2001, which, I think this was on with Matt Lachlan on Devils Hockey Network. He interviewed a journalist that had been, found the Carolina Hurricanes since they were in Raleigh or Greensboro, that it was that series that Scott Stevens rocked Ron Francis and Shane Wilson. Shane Willis. That they saw that Carolina Hurricanes team put up a fight against a defending Stanley Cup champion, and that's what got Rod Brindamore to re-sign, saying, hey, maybe we could do something here in Carolina. And since then, they've had the Devils' number. I don't get it. 2009 was pretty painful. Today's pretty painful.
Very painful.
2023, again, Siegenthaler chips the puck, delay a game. But yeah, I'm with you, Scotty. When they were quick to call, too many men penalty, and stop the Devils with an extra man when they pulled the goalie, Markstrom. That left a bad taste in my mouth. Mm-hmm. And then the entire game, I was mumbling to myself, okay, what else are they going to rig next? Right?
Yeah.
And, again, I don't mind poor officiating, but this was, it almost seems like somebody hit the button at the end of the first period. It just felt like that way. I'm not expecting the Devils to win the game. I'm not expecting the Devils to, win the series or whatever. But let it be on something that's like you altered the story of the game, calling that double minor. Dawson Mercer, what is he supposed to do at that point? What is he supposed to do?
I don't know. I don't, I have to look up all the like we've talked about it before. You need to be a lawyer for the NHL Rulebook. I don't know if there's some sort of difference between shot and dump in or pass or something like that. I don't know, but I thought it was a follow through. I mean, he bled. Obviously we all saw the blood on the ice. So, I mean, I get the fact that if they were gonna call it, they had to call it a double minor. But I'm just wondering if it was actually by the letter of the law, an actual penalty. I don't know if there is some sort of thing about if it's a dump in, if it's an actual shot, if it's a pass or whatnot.
Well, I'm
actually
going to the rule book right now for this season.
I will say this. I was watching with my dad, and my dad doesn't watch all the hockey in the world. And he even looked at me and he said, I think the refs got something going on this game. And I'm like, yeah, I think the same thing, Dad. So if my dad can notice that, there's obviously something up and going on there.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know. Here, I'm getting to the rule right now. I was reading AI before, and it'll be pretty extensive, all right? Take off my glasses here.
Mm-hmm.
60.1. Rule 60, high sticking. for high sticking the puck, referred to Rule 80. A high stick is one which is carried above the height of the opponent's shoulders. Players must be in control and responsible for their stick. However, a player is permitted accidental contact on an opponent if the act is committed as a normal wind-up or follow-through of a shooting motion or accidental contact on the opposing center who is bent over during the course of a face-off. A wild swing at a bouncing puck, which would not be considered a normal wind-up, or a follow-through or any contact to an opponent above the height of the shoulders, shall be penalized accordingly. So the way I interpret it, I'm not an NHL lawyer per se. To me, is that really subjective? It's not like Dawson Mercer did a follow-through and just dangled the stick. Like, oh, he's coming. Let me jab him in the eye. You know. Or is the slow motion
Was
replay...
it a shot? It wasn't a shot, though. I think that's the issue. Because everything I'm looking at that's the thing. Is a shooting motion shot specific, or is a shooting motion because you could make shot passes? So
we would need a professional referee to interpret that.
Well, I've seen some of the interpretations by some of these referees on like the ESPN broadcast. I don't think
I'm not going to
pretend. I need to hear anymore.
I'm not going to pretend I know. Okay, but in terms of a paying customer, like every other Devils fan, I would like to see. I would like them to be better. You know, it's like this league pisses me off sometimes with these referees and with these video replay booth officials. Some of this stuff I don't even understand. But, you know, when you look at the replay in slow motion, it gives a little bit of optical illusion that he was dangling the blade of a stick there. But if you put it in real time, what is he supposed to do?
Yeah.
What is he supposed to do?
I agree.
Besides,
I agree.
He's coming at him as well.
I agree. It's a very kind of gray area from what I'm reading here, because shooting motion, I mean, you could take a shot, you can just shoot it down the ice. That's a shooting motion. So it's a very fine gray area, but it didn't seem like old NHL officials in Toronto didn't take too long for that one. I don't think Dawson Mercer was reckless with his stick. But either way, at this point, it doesn't matter.
I know. It's just, I don't know. I just hate losing a game in that fashion. How about like maybe scoring on Markstrom on a 2-on-1 rush, or something like that to win the game? I want to see the Carolina Hurricanes struggle for that last win, not have it handed to them on a 4-minute double minor. And
you know what? I'll say this: the Devils almost killed it off too. They were under a minute to go when Carolina did score. I honestly to God thought they were going to kill that off, and I was like, maybe they'll get some momentum from this and finally get some chances going the other way. And since Kochetkov wasn't getting very much of anything thrown on him, maybe get a little cold. Maybe be able to sneak one past them.
Yeah.
But really, Sam, I think the big deal with this team is the power play just went lights out. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think they scored a power play goal.
No, they were 0 for 16 or something like that. It's some ridiculous number. So, we said in the beginning of the series, Scotty, that special teams is going to be a big factor because the Devils were ranked top 5 in the regular season. But postseason, it's a totally different ball game. It's some players show up, some players don't. But the Devils really are built for the regular season. And they can barely last. Again, I don't want to harp on these injuries, but I know a lot of teams suffer, but this is almost like unreal here. I mean, you got almost a third to half of your lineup out with injuries. Your defense decimated,
Defense, yeah, absolutely. I mean, 3 guys in this series, too. Luke, and these aren't just 3, like nobodies here. You got Luke Hughes, Brendan Dillon, and Jonathan Kovacevic, who have been playing huge, massive minutes. And I can only imagine how gassed Dumoulin, Pesci, Siegenthaler just coming back. I feel like those guys, I mean, 37 minutes for Dumoulin? Dougie really didn't play that. Seamus Casey only played like 9 minutes.
Yeah.
Those guys just had to have been absolutely gassed. And it's understandable given, the responsibility that they got to take on with those other 3 guys out of the lineup. I think they did a hell of a job, trying to step up and get there and get things done. I thought Dumoulin played a really good series. Siegenthaler coming back gave this team some awesome life. He made some really big hits that this team was missing, that physicality. And I got to say, Shimon Nemeth, he played pretty good here in these last couple games. After he scored that goal, you could see the confidence building. And he made some good poke checks to knock the puck away. There was one on Taylor Hall, too. I can't remember if it was in the third or overtime where I was like, oh, boy. Please, not Taylor Hall getting the game-winning goal here, But Nemeth, he made some good defensive plays over there. And, the captain was the captain. Nico Hischier laid it all on the line for this team. He tried to carry this team on his back. Timo Meier played great. I know we all want him to score more, but, he played great all around. He got some points. He got some assists. He got 2 goals. Man, he was mucking it up. He was getting in there. He was throwing some jabs. He was hitting everything he sees, finishing all of his checks. Really loved the play from Timo.
Yeah.
Can't complain there. But we talked about it, the Hallas, the Palats. I don't know, man. Cody Glass didn't do too much. Again, he was coming back as well.
A lot
That
of
fourth
guys were
line.
coming back,
Yeah, that fourth line was just really non-existent. Dowling had a good series, I will say that. But Bastian, Tatar, Sprong, they didn't really do that much. Yeah, Paul Cotter, he got that nice assist today, but he didn't really, overly impress. I think, throughout this series, he looked a little, I guess, like deer in the headlights a little bit there. Like maybe the moment was a little too big right now for him. I don't know. Maybe he'll get better with that. But Stefan Nason, he got the 2 points today, but he didn't really seem like his normal self either. I don't know, that third line there. After the top 2 lines, it just kind of went into, whatever.
Got a question for
They hit
you.
a lot of guys. I will say that. They hit a lot of guys. I liked that. But there just wasn't enough offense putting it out, and power play just stunk. They needed to score power play goals.
You know what? It's almost, in some ways, it feels like a little bit of a bait and switch. The Devils, this Devils team has done this to us for the last 10 years. Just when you think they're good, they're not. They're overhyped. And the playoffs, if you could get into the playoffs exposes your weaknesses. You know what I mean? Like, you can't get away with things in the playoffs like you could in the regular season. I think Shimon Nemeth, his stock value has risen because of these playoffs. I think what the Devils need is, I don't know how Fitzy's going to do it, but they're going to have to figure out how to shed some of this dead weight on this team. Palat's not doing anything. He's not doing anything. They hyped him up in his first year. Okay, injuries. Second year, okay, whatever. And it's just, Tatar, Yeah, nice in the regular season on the fourth line. Doesn't
Was
amount
he?
to anything.
He really didn't do too much in the regular season either. So, no offense to Tuna, but I
Well,
mean,
what I meant was he ate up some time. He just again, I don't think this team is going anywhere unless they make big changes. They got to be bold now. They got to be really bold. They got to make some changes. Fire some assistant coaches. I don't know. They got to
bold as in Brady Kachuk bold? Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah. a new. I don't want to say his name, but they need a new attitude on this team. This team it's gotten better with the Beefalitics, but it's still too passive in so many areas.
Nick Adams right now says you give him away for free. So, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, it's obviously a little bit too early to talk about this, but I think there might be a couple buyouts going because I don't know how some of these guys are going to get moved. Who's going to take them? What's going on with Dougie too? Like Dougie did not look like Dougie.
Here are some bold moves I'm going to suggest.
Dougie looked good in the regular season. We've talked about him coming back from the pec injury and everything like that. But after he came back the second time here, he's looked off. He did not look like Dougie.
I'm going to suggest some bold moves. If Quinn Hughes is really out there, Fitzy, do something. Do something. Do you move Dougie Hamilton? Can you even move him?
Is he movable? I mean, you're gonna have to. Hey, what's up there, Ted? Yeah, that's my dad's Ringo kit in the background there. Yeah, I know those contracts. I mean, the Dougie contract and the Palat contract. I don't know how you're gonna move that. I mean, if you do, you're obviously gonna have to eat some of that salary.
What they need to do right now, you got to sign Luke Hughes to a long-term deal. You have to do it now. Otherwise, he's going to get way expensive down the road.
Yeah, and Robert, yeah, I feel like Dougie came back good from the pec injury, but the knee injury doesn't seem, I don't know, because he was on his way to a 50-plus point season before he got dinged up again. Like we all were here enjoying the wonderful football calls of Sam by God Woo, the king of the football calls. It's not like we only had like 2 or 3 of them this year. We had a lot, thanks to Dougie Hamilton. So, I don't know, but him coming back from this second injury, he just did not look like himself when he came back. So I don't know if it's the pec, but more likely that knee, I would think. Serve, we need a Pasternak type of player. I mean, Pasta would be great, but he just signed a big, massive deal as well. Steve Tortaz says the Rangers move Trouba, we can move Hamilton. Possibly. We're going to have to find a team that needs some salary or doesn't mind taking on some salary.
I don't know, Scotty. I don't know. I think management's going to use the excuse, well, we had these injuries. We fought hard. We overachieved, all things considering. We're past the rebuild. We should be a playoff perennial. We have to get past the first round. It's only 5 games and you're done. We're the first team eliminated in the playoffs.
Yeah.
We're like the Mr. Irrelevant team in the playoffs. But
I think,
again, sorry to interrupt, Scotty.
No, go ahead.
at some point, you know, you got to look at Fitzy. Is he the right GM? Is he the right GM? They got to win now.
I mean,
Scotty. They got to win now.
You got to look around at all the pieces. You know, what is the reasoning for this? We were just talking about this the other day with Nick Villano. Is it the young core? Is it the is it the veterans that are supposed to be providing that leadership? We know the goaltending has been a hell of a lot better this year. I don't see an issue there, especially with Yegorov on the way. But we know the physicality just left from this team. The injuries obviously are a factor. 100%. You can't lose 4 guys like that. You're talking top 4, your top 4 D-men. And, your superstar who the team kind of like works around offensively. That's going to hurt anybody. But you gotta stop making excuses.
Well,
because it's just.
Let's be honest, Scotty. This was never a playoff team to begin with. The only reason why they got into the playoffs is from the start of the season to December 27th. They played so well. Then after that, they were under 500. Yeah, after the Marty Necas, Oscar Award, Academy Award performance of an injury. What was this team? And they had their ups and downs, but they were, like you said, below 500. They weren't really playing inspiring hockey, to be completely honest with you. But they hung on to the 3rd spot in the Metropolitan Division because of the way they started when they were patting on points. And they were also in a weak Eastern Conference where they were technically ahead for a while of other teams, but towards the end there, they fizzled. The Carolina Hurricanes, they were beatable. They were beatable. And they can still be beaten. But they're definitely ahead of the game in all areas than the New Jersey Devils because of the coach.
They definitely are, and the Canes were able to do what we said the Devils were going to be able to do, which was turn it on when the playoffs come. Because the Canes were terrible at the end of the season. They couldn't win a game either. But all of a sudden the playoffs came here and they were a different team. So
remember
there's going to have to be some changes made.
Remember Nemec started the season hurt in preseason. Right before preseason started, he was hurt. It was nice to see him, finish strong. I mean, he had a roller coaster.
He did himself. These last three games though. He did look very, very good, and he was playing hard tonight. He really was.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of things that in earlier parts of the season, I'd be like, "Oh, he's going to screw this up." and tonight he came through. The past couple of days he came through. He played good defense. He was still getting a little bit too far down into the zone for my liking. You need those responsible forwards. Like I saw Cody Glass covering for him a lot. Saw Timo Meier covering for him a lot. Jesper Bratt. Nico as well. By the way, Nico Hischier on that one penalty kill. I forgot that block shot that he had. He was out there for basically the entire PK. And he took that one shot like off the shin. And Nico Hischier showed me a lot this season. That's one thing we should be excited about. Dude finished, what was it, 36 goals in the regular season, or was it 35? I can't remember if it was 35, 36. Career high for him. Like, he's going to be a force next year as well. Excited about that. But Nemitz, I will say, he really showed me something these past couple games, that he can, handle this spotlight. And oh boy, I think this thing is falling over. There it went.
Is that your microphone, Scotty?
It was. Yeah.
See, even on this podcast, we're having a bad podcast. Things aren't going right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Things are just falling all over the place here. So, yeah. But anyway.
You see the behind
there we
the
go.
scenes.
The behind the scenes of the
parents' basement.
The music stand here then is falling over. So, yeah. At least my laptop didn't take a dive. That would have sucked.
Maybe the hockey gods are telling us to stop bitching.
We need to wrap it up. Yeah. I guess so.
Yeah.
Well, Devils lose. Bummer way to end the season here. But I want to thank everybody for tuning in to all these games and all these post games and everything else. It was great seeing everybody down at the Rock these past couple nights. We had a great time partying out on on Edison outside the legendary American Whiskey. So thank you everyone for tuning in to all these Devils After Darks. We made it through this entire season. And I hope to see all you back again next year. Of course, don't worry. We'll still be doing the big show on Sunday and everything else like that. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot to talk about this Sunday with Shorts Guy, myself, Sam Woo. Nick should be along tomorrow for State of the Fan address. I'm sure he'll have some thoughts on everything going on. And, we can start talking about things that we wish will happen in the offseason for this team, because they are now officially eliminated from playoff contention.
I didn't want it to end. I didn't want it to end. I wanted one last hurrah Friday at American Whiskey. It's going to be sad tomorrow because I got to take the Jeep down there and pack up.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to suck. But appreciate the moments that we did have. Scotty, you coming out to the East Coast. We experienced Game 3.
Yep.
We got our tickets. I wore the cookie costume. We saw a double overtime victory, at the Rock.
Mm-hmm.
The longest playoff game ever, NHL playoff game ever, at the Rock. Longer than the double overtime against the New York Rangers, that Game 6. Also, other moments. Game 4, somehow we made it to the game. We're down 3-0. Suddenly we're making that comeback.
Mm-hmm.
I got on the Jumbotron about 5 times, and national television and MSG Network. So it was quite fun for those 2 games. And, look, we're doing a lot better than the New York Rangers and the New York Islanders and the Philadelphia Flyers and the Boston Bruins and the Pittsburgh Penguins, who, by the way, fired their coach, and the Buffalo Sabres, which has Lindy Ruff. But I still think big changes are needed. I think, they're still missing that it factor, despite the injuries. And to me, it's a team culture thing.
Yeah.
But
all right, Sam, let's wrap this up because my stand here is about to fall apart.
All right. Well, want to thank all those tuning in all season, but just remember, the Let's Go Devils podcast never stops. Tomorrow we have a State of the Fan address with Nick Villano and I. The Sunday show will continue. Woo reports will be scattered throughout. Maybe a game day live just to kind of wrap up the season as well. So a lot of things we're going to be doing behind the scenes. But Scotty, it's been an honor, a pleasure working with you all season.
Yep.
Devils After Dark. I'm trying to mask your microphone.
Please. I know. Yeah. Let's wrap it up.
Yeah. All right. Thank you to everybody. We're going to drop the podcast in about 20 minutes. And, remember Ann Kruger. Yes, Ted. But we'll get through it, folks. Till next time, let's go Devils.